Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Enrique Hasso. I am the director of TMDSAS and the Texas Health Education Service Outreach Strategist. I've been asked by the new JAMP director, Dr. Nina Gonzalez, to help offer a walkthrough of the JAMP application. And joining me today behind the scenes is Jennifer. Jennifer, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, this is an open Q&A. So for those of you watching, if you do have a question, what we'll be doing is going over each section of the JAMP application. And if you have any questions for us, you're very welcome to send in a question via the chat if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube. So before we get started, I did want to share this kind of a little quick video about JAMP. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Edward Vetta Jr. I am a second year student here at the Texas College of Osteopathic Medicine, and I have been a part of the JAMP family for about 4 years now. The community aspect of JAMP is really unique, honestly, because we have a lot of students from a lot of different backgrounds, but we all share a common goal, which is to become a doctor and be someone who will be able to be there for their community and help them during their time of need. It's really awesome just to learn the backgrounds of everyone, and aside from all of our fellow Jampers, we're also able to connect with all of the medical school faculty, not only at one school, but of all the schools in Texas. I would definitely recommend JAMP for all Texas pre-medical students.
All right. So, as we shared earlier, the application for JAMP has been open since May 1st, and the application deadline is coming up soon. But we're here to walk through the overall application. And since a lot of folks watching may actually be earlier in their college career, I did want to give a quick primer to some of the elements of an application and what the schools are looking for. So when you submit your JAMP application, it's actually going to the admissions officers at the medical schools. And so they have actually identified several key characteristics that they're looking for in applicants. And this is for medical school, but what JAMP does is it follows these core competencies pretty closely. So there are several core competencies that we'll see here. The first group is called the pre-professional competencies. And these include things like your capacity for improvement, your growth mindset, and making sure that you continue to improve yourself and make yourself a better in terms of providing more efficient service to your patients in the future. Cultural competence, of course, has to do with interacting with people from different backgrounds than your own, and being able to understand and navigate the nuances between how people like to be treated. It's part of the golden rule, treat others as they would like to be treated. An ethical responsibility to yourself and to others is really an important part because ethics is a huge part in medicine. Uh, Physicians have a unique interaction with patients that very few other professions have. For example, you go to a doctor and you say, "Hey, there's something wrong with my chest." It's actually a stranger putting their hand on your chest and making sure that they're able to ascertain what it is that could be causing the issue. And so physicians have a very high ethical standard, and this is something that's very important in the profession. And then kind of backtracking into your undergraduate career, it's how are you treating yourself? How are you cultivating your own integrity? And how are you adhering to ethical principles, rules, and procedures? And so this is another aspect of your application that we look at. Your oral communication skills are very important as well. You're translating essentially high scientific um, language and lingo back to a normal people's parlance. And so it's really important that you're able to communicate effectively and clearly in terms of oral communication. Your reliability and dependability are really important as well. And these will show up mostly in your activity sections where you can see an overall accountability for the activities that you've engaged in, what you've done, what you've undertaken over the years. And this is one of those things that you can't just go out in your essay and say, "Hey, I'm dependable, I'm reliable." These are actually things that are showing up in other parts of your application. Your resilience and adaptability. How did you do when you got that D in organic chemistry? Or what happened when you didn't go to your top choice undergraduate school? And how are you overcoming those different challenges that you are facing? This sets the stage for what you'll be encountering further on in your academic career, and also in your professional career. There are lots of setbacks and lots of issues that pop up, and we want to make sure that you are somebody who is well versed in being able to be adaptable and resilient. Your service orientation is another very important aspect of your application. As an undergraduate student or even as a high school student, being engaged in community events and activities uh, really shows that you're going to be somebody who is, as a physician, is going to be engaging with your community more effectively. When you think about it, local scouts groups or different groups are actually sometimes sponsored or funded by physicians in our communities. Our physicians play important parts, as we saw during the pandemic, as part of our communities. And so it's really important that you, as an aspiring physician, are already engaging with your community and taking that role as a leader. Your social skills is really understanding other people's needs, goals, and feelings, and making sure that you're able to adapt yourself appropriately for those situations. And treating others with respect is a very key aspect of that. And also, the final one here is teamwork. As a physician, you'll be leading a team of healthcare providers, along with PA, nurses, pharmacists, and other professionals that may be working with patients in the future. And so right now, what is it that you're doing to cultivate your experience as a leader and as a leader in serving as part of a team? And how can that translate later on into your role as a physician? Next up, we have our science competencies, which are human behavior and the living systems. These are largely found through your coursework that you'll be taking, both as a lower division coursework and upper division coursework. So for JAMP's purposes, we'll be looking at different aspects of your application. Are you on the right track to complete your coursework for the prerequisites to medical school? As a freshman, you should already be engaged in several courses like Biology 1, Chemistry 1, and making sure that you're on the right trajectory, because along the line, these are part of a longer course of coursework that you'll be undertaking. So if you're not starting off with Chemistry 1, it's going to be very difficult to catch up to organic chemistry and then biochemistry within the time that you're allotted in school. And then finally, we have our thinking and reasoning competencies. These include critical thinking, quantitative reasoning, scientific inquiry, and written communication. And so all of these are very important in terms of interpreting and understanding emerging sciences and how science continues to change and best practices continue to change to improve the practice of medicine over time. Going to medical school and becoming a physician is just the first step. It's a lifelong commitment to education and continuing to be engaged for the service of your patients. So these are some of the key aspects of your application that our schools look at in order to make sure that you are a qualified candidate. Now with JAMP, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the specific requirements here for JAMP. If you would just give me 1 second. And again, if you have any questions for us, this is a live Q&A. I've got Ms. Koenig from the JAMP Administrative Office joining me today. And we are very happy to have the opportunity to speak with you all today. This is the first time we've done an application workshop for JAMP, JAMP Scholar applicants, and so we're really excited to have this opportunity. Jennifer, would you like to speak on some of the requirements for JAMP?
Sure. So when a student, applicant applies to JAMP, they need to have completed their graduate from high school and complete their first year of college. That's what we call the regular pathway to apply to JAMP. And in that first year of college, we ask that you complete 27 hours of undergraduate coursework. And along with that would be your general chemistry 1 and 2 and any corresponding labs that go with that. There also is what we call an early admission pathway. That is for students who have taken quite a few hours of dual credit during high school, but the main part of that is they need to have taken at least 27 hours of dual credit during their senior year of high school. So they can have more than that, but they need to have taken 27 during their senior year. And they also need to have completed their general chemistry 1 and 2 and any corresponding labs. And for those students, they can apply to JAMP their first semester in college.
Excellent. Thank you for the quick walkthrough there. All right, so let's go ahead and dig into the JAMP application now. So when you go into the JAMP website, on any page that you see under portal login, you can actually click, hover and click on applicant, and it'll take you to a login page for you to access the JAMP application proper. And so here I have an application that I've gone ahead and started on. One of the things I want to note here is that we do have links back to the JAMP website to provide you some additional guidance for applying to JAMP. And we also have some important announcements. Number one, there are a couple of big changes that happened to the application. So if we have any JFDs joining us today, we did want to note that starting in entry year 2024 for JAMP, the SAT and ACT is no longer required to apply to the program. And so that's a very big change for JAMP. And we also have a couple of additional changes that we'll be discussing throughout the application. So let's just go ahead and get started here. So on our homepage here, again, we have access to the entire application, which gives us a PDF version. And here on the right, we have access to each individual section of the application. So number one, we start with our background info. We talk about the school that we'll be attending or that we're currently attending. And this has a list of all of the institutions that are currently part of JAMP. And so you'll see some of the big hitters, the Texas A&M, the UT Austin, UT Arlington, Texas State, Texas Tech, and some of the private universities like Trinity University, Schreiner University. They're all on here. You'll go ahead and include the ID that you currently use at your school. We need this information in order for your JAMP faculty director. Oh, I'm so sorry. I should be sharing the screen. Here we go. Thank you, Luisa, for letting me know about that. So let me go back here. Under background info, on the homepage, we actually have announcements where we mentioned that the SAT and ACT scores are no longer required. Here we have the application PDF that pops up. And we also have the first section of the application, which is going to be your application status. So as we're going through the application, every time you save one of the pages, it'll create a date stamp and it'll mark the section as complete. So make sure you keep coming back to this to make sure that each of the sections has actually been completed. And avoid going through the application and putting in like a placeholder. Like in the essays, if you just put in a period just to save the page, it will still check it off here. But you definitely want to go back through your entire application to make sure that everything is completed. Also, when your supporting documents are received by the JAMP office, they'll be checked off here for receive date for your student aid reports for your freshman and sophomore year, your letters of evaluation, and also your high school transcripts. And so this is a very important page. Again, it's up here, this application status. Now, the first section is your, your background information. And here's the drop-down menu of all of our participating JAMP institutions. We enter the university ID, and this helps your JAMP faculty director connect your JAMP application with your university ID in case they need to request additional information. I have been involved with JAMP in one way or another since 2010, so I did include that. I learned about JAMP because I've learned about it from a high school counselor. And of course, I have lived in Texas my entire life, so I am very much a Texas resident. When you click Save and Continue here, It'll take you and prompt you to enter some contact information, basic information, your name, your preferred name, if that appears somewhere. If you have any other names that you may have gone by, it gives you a checkbox to enter additional names. Your email is actually set by when you create your application. So if you do need to make a change, you have to go through My Account in order to make that change. You can include cell phone contact information, and then mailing and permanent address. So it's pretty straightforward here. Next up, we have our demographic information section. And in this section, we're actually asking additional questions about where you come from. We'll request your date of birth, the city, country, state, and county where you were born, what you would consider to be your hometown. This would be the place where you spent the majority of your time before you were 18. And so we've got some additional questions here, like how big was the town or the city that you grew up in? How would you describe the area, whether it's rural, suburban, or if it's a military or government installation? And also the primary language that you speak at home. We also have additional questions about your current gender identity, as well as your preferred pronouns. And then the questions below are entirely voluntary, and they're only used for reporting purposes because we do have to provide reports back to the state. We do ask questions about your ethnicity and race. And again, these are redacted from our consideration. This is entirely optional information for you to provide. All right. Next, on to our socioeconomic section. This is a very important section for JAMP. As you all well know, JAMP has requirements to recruit socioeconomically disadvantaged students. And so these questions give us additional insight, like whether you're the first in your family to attend or graduate an undergraduate program, meaning that if either parent did not have education beyond high school, including education outside of the US, you would mark yes, that you are first generation. Similarly, if you're the first generation to attend a graduate or professional program, you would select yes here. If you are a parent, you can indicate that there. Your primary language, if you're bilingual or multilingual, and you can actually select multiple languages here. So let's say I speak both Arabic and Hindi. I could mark that there. And then you can also indicate your level of proficiency. Here we're asking for the zip code where you grew up most of your life before you were 18. If you've lived outside the US, you can check this box and it asks additional information about that. The size of your household, the amount of people that live in your household, an estimated household income, estimated property value. We also asked some additional questions, again, because of the nature of JAMP. If you've ever lived in subsidized housing, if you've received free or reduced lunch meal program benefits, if you've had other responsibilities in raising children while you were attending elementary, middle, or high school, if you were contributing to the overall family income and working primarily for your own discretionary spending. I'm sorry, if you contributed to the overall family income rather than working to, get the new iPhone or something like that, then you would check this box. If you've participated in any programs, or you and your family have participated in any programs like SNAP, Social Security, CHIP, Medicaid, TANF, TRIO, or Upward Bound, you would select yes. If you live in any medically underserved area, you could check this box. If you're not sure if you live in a medically underserved area, you can actually look it up by going to this link, and the link pops up this tool from the HRSA. You can enter the address where you were. I'm going to go ahead and enter. Let's see. This is my high school address when I grew up in El Paso. So this gives us some additional information of the location. And when we scroll down a little bit further, it tells us this area is in a dental health underserved area, mental health underserved area, and primary care underserved area. And this is what we're looking for, medically underserved population, which this one is. So now we could come back to the JAMP application and say, yes, I was raised in a community that was medically underserved. Also, if you were in foster care, you have an option to show that. And if you underwent any extenuating circumstances that you believe contributed to your being disadvantaged as a youth, for example, food insecurity, unemployment, housing instability, inadequate pre-literary experiences, inadequate after-school enrichment opportunities. If you went to a high school that didn't have AP programs that perhaps you wanted to undertake, this would be a great place to include that information. And also, if you have any additional information to help the schools determine your socioeconomic status, that would be an option here. So that concludes the questions here in our socioeconomic information section. If you've served in the military, you can actually provide additional information about your service, the ranks that you've obtained, your reserve status, and then some additional information. This is a great place for you to indicate how your military experience may have prepared you to be a healthcare provider. Also, this is completely optional, but you have the option of uploading your military transcript if you would like for the schools to be able to view that. Onward to the parent and legal information section. This is an important section as we're determining residency. We need to make sure that you are a Texas resident. And so oftentimes your residency may be based on your parent. This is important information for us to collect. So we need their name, last name, education level. And so we have a few options that pop up. Occupation, which has a very long list of different types of occupations that your parents may be involved in. These options will include, if they are a chief executive, a dentist, if they are a homemaker, if they're a lawyer, if they're in the military, if they're optometrists, if they're teachers, etc., if they're transportation occupation. All of these options appear here. You indicate whether your parents are still living, their birth city, country, state, and county. And if they live at the same permanent address that you do, you can identify how they're related to you, whether they're biological, adoptive parents, step parent, grandparent, a sibling, or an other legal guardian. And then you identify whether you lived with this person for 3 years while you were in high school. And so you have the option. We recognize that not all families have the traditional nuclear makeup of 2 parents and 1 child. So we do have additional options. If you have, biological parents, adoptive parents, grandparents that may have taken care of you, you can enter up to 6 in this section. And then you would hit save, and it brings you to a significant person section. In this section, what we're asking is if you have additional folks that have been involved in your upbringing or who have played a significant role in your life. This might be a spouse, it might be a grandparent, a family friend, or perhaps a sibling that kind of helped raise you as a child. This would be where you would enter their information. So it's very similar to the parent one. Once you hit save here, we'll bring you to the financial section of the application. On here, the first part, we are actually asking you to break down your overall income based off of 100% required to go to college. So for example, if my family is contributing 10% of my expenses, I don't have a spouse, so that's 0% there. Academic scholarships are providing 75% of my expenses. Financial needs scholarships is another 10. And then I have no loans, but I have a job that provides the other 5%. And so that gives us the 100% that we saw at the bottom. If you do enter something that doesn't give you the full 100% or gives you something more than 100%, this section will actually make you go back and make sure that it totals 100%. So make sure that you're careful with creating this this layout because it is by percentages and it has to equal 100%. We also have, if you have received financial aid other than scholarships, that might be loans, Pell Grants, Texas Grant, work study. If you have a FAFSA for your freshman year, what was your EFC? If you have a FAFSA for your second year, what was your EFC? And these will create placeholders for you to upload those. All right, we've got a question here. We're going to go ahead and address now. This is from Leslie. Thanks for joining us, Leslie. Could I still apply to JAMP if my current year FAFSA is higher than the EFC required, but the current one is around the same EFC requirement? I think this is a great question for Ms. Koenig.
Hi, okay, because I can still apply to JAMP. Okay, yes. So as long as one of your FAFSAs meets the threshold of the 8,000 or below, you can still apply to JAMP. You still qualify to apply. And also, just kind of on that point, when we ask for the two FAFSAs, we're asking for the 22, 23, and the 23 and 24. But what happens is at some point, the 22 and 23 will become unavailable. And so if that happens and you're not able to get that one, as long as the 23, 24 has the 8,000 or below, then you just need to upload one. But if for some reason it's the 23, 24 that is above the 8,000, then we would need you to find a way to get that 22, 23 FAFSA.
Thank you, Jennifer. I hope that answered your question, Leslie. We also have a question from Abigail. For the socioeconomic questions, do all questions ask in context of birth to 18 years? That's a great question. Going back to the socioeconomic section, yeah, most of these are going to be about birth through 18 years of age. This top part, first generation, or your parent of dependent children, primary languages, that's kind of overall. But here we have the header of the household where you were raised or spent the majority of your life from birth to 18 years old. So everything below here is going to have that have that applied to it. That's a great question. All righty. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on ahead. So we completed the financial section, and once you hit save and continue, it'll bring you to felonies and misdemeanor section. In this section, you would disclose if you have ever been arrested or charged with any violation of the law, regardless of the outcome. And so this includes anything that included alcohol or drugs, but it does not include, traffic tickets or violations with fines of $250 or less. So on here, most of you would select no, but if you do have any of those, you have the opportunity to explain the situation and what has happened. Just be ready. Be aware that if any of these actions were diverted, deferred, pardoned, or pled nolo contendere, must be disclosed. So even if these have been kind of removed, it's important to disclose these. And one of the reasons why is because these may show up on your background check, and that's an important part of going through the medical, going through the summer programs, and also into getting into medical school. It's important that you disclose, and that becomes a question of ethics. So that completes the personal section of the JAMP application, and we move on to our education section. So the first one on here is our high school. Indicate how you completed high school, whether it was traditional high school, GED, or homeschool. I'm going to use my own experience and complete my own high school information. Which type of program did you complete? I was a nerd in high school, so I did the distinguished program. And down here, it allows me to search for my high school. So I went to high school here in Texas, and the school is called Del Valle. Haha. All right. It's giving me an error there. Let's see if That continues. There we go. So this is a high school that I attended in El Paso, Texas. I select it. It automatically fills in information about the high school. I just indicate which month I graduated. This is probably before some of y'all were born. And my class size was 500 at the time. Did we rank? Yes, and I don't remember what my rank was, but I'm going to say I was number 3. So you can save and continue that section, and it'll bring us on to our colleges attended. So here we indicate which college we attended. So let's go ahead and select one of, we'll select a pretty well-known college. Let's say Texas State. That way, none of the Red Raiders or the Longhorns or the Aggies come after us. So here we are, Texas State University. I typed in just Texas State. Just heads up, if you attended a school like St. Mary's, you may end up having an error like that. So it does have a couple of nuances. So if you do have encounter anything like that, just let us know, and we'll be happy to help work through this issue with you. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to go ahead and say Texas State, so we can move on through the application. Aha!
Also, Enrique, I'd like to add that if you do not select your college from this drop-down menu and you just manually enter it, it's not going to populate like it should in the rest of the application when it comes to the grades. So in other words, when you start putting all your classes and your grades in, it can't find that college, and so your GPA is going to be 0.0.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to find the college from that drop-down, and if you don't find it, just call our office and we'll be happy to walk you through it.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jennifer. We have the same issue with TMDSAS. And so what we do is from that drop-down menu, those are essentially schools that we can confirm are accredited and recognized by the THECB. And so that's what that list is. So if you enter a new school, we would have to look to see if that school even exists and check out the accreditation for it and do a whole process for it. If you're applying to JAMP, you're attending one of the 68 universities that are part of the program, and so we already know that those schools are accredited. So you should be able to find your school there. So here again, just like with a high school, it automatically populated information about Texas State University. I'm indicating the terms that I'm attending. Have I received or plan to receive a degree? Yes, I do. And the degree program would be a Bachelor of Arts that I plan to receive. In this case, let's say to this December in accounting. And let's see, what's a fun combination with accounting? Accounting and dance. Just a very, very out there educational experience. And of course, with a minor in human biology. Was I enrolled in an honors program here? Let's say yes. The honors program is best students ever. Oh, it doesn't allow special characters. Sorry about that. So there we go. We have the school has been entered here, and it gives us the term that we've attended, the degree, and when we plan to receive it. For the sake of expediency, we're going to move on here. Click the checkbox and hit save and continue. And now we indicate, oh, I should have noticed that. Let's see. My apologies. Don't look behind the curtain. We do this application so often, so some of the parts just aren't connected. There we go. So you need to make sure that your college is the same one from your background information. So there we go. Check the box, continue. Texas State is right there as my primary undergraduate. And now we see that I have to enter terms. So for each term that I attended, you have to create a spot for it. So for fall 2020, We create the first term, that was a semester, add the term, and then spring 2021, spring, that was a semester, add the term, and it keeps adding those down the line until you complete your entire career. Boom. So we'll just stop there. We just wanted to show how to create these different terms. We go ahead and hit save and continue. And now we enter the coursework. All right, before we get into coursework, Jennifer, we have another question that has come up. This is from Leslie. Is it best to apply until my summer class grades are processed?
So I think you're asking that you want to wait until you have your grades for your summer classes, I guess is what you're saying. Not necessarily. You can just put in if you do not have the grades, you can go ahead and put not yet for those classes, because we're going to ask for a transcript as one of the supporting documents that we request, and on that transcript would include your summer grades, and we can put those in for you.
And we'll show you exactly what that not yet looks like. So I'm creating a semester here for the summer. Make sure we have that. So Leslie, as we continue into the application, what we're going to do here, let me make this a little bit bigger for you all to see. What we're going to do here is we continue into coursework. So in the example that you provided, Leslie, here we have our summer 2021. Let's say this gives a couple of options. The first one is academic status. Is were you a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? Was this before you started your freshman? Was it coursework after post-bac or graduate? For most of y'all, this will probably be freshman year. The course type, if it's a regular class, meaning that you attended in person. If it's a distance learning or online course, you put DL. Honors courses with an H. Study abroad. And we'll go back and do some AP and IB courses. Also, if you took an institutional or departmental exam to get credit, you would indicate that here. Or if the course is audit or developmental, you indicate that here. And again, we'll go back and add a dual credit course. So for now, we're just going to go the easiest way. For a freshman course, let's say biology 201. This course is Intro to Bio for science majors. Now, being that it's a biology course, I can go ahead and indicate here, if the drop-down menu lets me. Here we go. I can indicate that this course was a lecture. I've not yet received a grade, so in Leslie's case, this is not yet reported, and that's going to be for 3 hours. But since this is 2021, I would have already gotten a grade, and of course, I'm an amazing student, so I got an A+ on my grade. And we also have to ask if this is the last time you took the course, so that we know whether or not it'll continue to appear in your transcript. This was the only time I took that course, so I go ahead and select yes for the last time taken. Click add course, and now we see that the course has been added to that school. You can add other courses for the term or just be done with it, and all of your coursework will show up here. Now, in order to enter AP coursework, what you'll have to do is go back to colleges attended. Sometimes your AP coursework is actually from a community college. So I'm going to go back in here and add a community college. Let's say Alamo Community College. Which one? I think Palo Alto is the one that we heard of quite often. So again, it fills in the information. For the terms that I attended, I started college in 2021. 2020. So let's say that this would be for when I was in high school. So that would be spring of 2019 through spring 2020. Have you received a degree? No, because this was just for dual credit coursework. Were you enrolled as an honor student? I would say no here as well. Add college attended. We now see that Palo Alto College is on here. So now check the box and continue. I'll go in and add here. I can add the terms that I attended. These are semester hours. So now I have the spot to be able to enter. Oops. I didn't hit save. Learn from my mistakes. 2019 spring semester, add term. There we go. And then hit save and we continue. So now here we have the placeholder for that term. So if you do have any AP coursework, actually let's do dual credit coursework first. So that's from Palo Alto College. Let's go ahead and add some of my dual credit courses. These would be pre-freshmen since they took place before I started my freshman year. And here under course type, I would indicate that these are DC for dual credit courses. The prefix might be English, 316, and this would be British literature. Course area, here I can indicate that this is a class for English. My transcript grade, I'm not as graded with English as I am with science, so I got a B for 3 credit hours. That was the last time I took it. And there we go. So we're going to say we're done with this term. So now we can see here that my pre-freshman coursework, which was dual credit, is entered here. And also the coursework that I undertook at Texas State University for summer 2021 is included on here. Now, if you have any AP coursework, you'll have to enter it under the semester where it was claimed. So let's say I took 2 AP exams and I got a 5 on both of them. The first semester when I started at Texas State, I would actually go in and enter it. So my first semester at Texas State was 2020 in the fall. So here, academic status, this would also be pre-freshman, correct, Jennifer?
Yes, that is correct.
For course type, give me 1 second, there we go. And so this one would be a advanced placement. The prefix, this would be 317 English. This is world literature. That would be an English class. I received credit for 3 hours. And that was the last time I took it. There we go. Now, I did say I got 2. So the other one might be a different course for AP. So we'll select the same options here. Advanced placement. This one could be for chemistry. Then here I can indicate that that would be for the equivalent of a chemistry lecture course where I received credit. 3, last time I took it, yes. And so now we see here, both courses have been entered. And I can just hit done with this term, and now your AP courses are entered. So one of the key things that I want to share with you all is dual credit courses have to be entered at the school that granted the credit. So that in this case, it would be the community college that I attended in high school. For AP courses, you claim the credit at your university. So wherever you claimed the credit, that's where it'll appear on your official transcript. So that's where we need to see it. So in this case, I claimed the credit my first semester at Texas State. So that's where I enter it. Since this is AP credit, I enter it as pre-freshman, and the course type is AP. For regular coursework, you would enter that down here in the appropriate semester as freshman or sophomore, junior, senior. And you'll have to do the kind of like the traditional timeline and not necessarily based off of your credits. I know some of y'all have like 1,000 dual credit coursework hours. So what you'll have to do is your freshman year is going to be the first the first 2 to 3 semesters that you're in college. Sophomore year is the next 2 to 3 semesters. I'm including summer, so it'd be fall, spring, and summer, and then onward until you get to your currently freshman or sophomore year. So once we complete this section, we can go ahead and click save and continue. In this section, we're asking if you're a non-traditional student, you have the option to enter additional information on here. If you've had any interruptions in your education, for example, if you enrolled in the military or performed service through the military, you would enter that here. If you have any disciplinary action, such as unacceptable academic performance, like academic probation, suspension, or dismissal, if you were the recipient of any action by a professional school for conduct violations, or if you've ever been sanctioned by a state licensure board, you would indicate that here. And then we would continue onward. And that concludes our education section. So we're just moving right along here. Jennifer, anything that you wanted to add before we jump into activities?
No, I would say that it may be helpful to have a copy of your transcripts as you're filling out that section. That way that you have you can just kind of put it in exactly as it appears in your transcript. You can put that in the application. It seems to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. And that's important because when we are validating your information, we have the transcript in one hand and we have your application on the other. So things have to line up and match that way. So by entering it correctly, it actually helps us process your application sooner. And it also helps you to make sure that your information is accurate. Sometimes we forget. I forgot what I had for lunch last week. So I can definitely say I'm not entirely sure which courses I may have taken a year or two ago, or for some of you, dual credit may even start freshman year of high school. So it's a couple of years out. You could forget. So it's easier to just request the official transcripts and just enter everything into the application as they appear. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and get started here with our personal biography section. This has different categories for you to enter different activities. The first group I wanted to acknowledge is going to be your academic recognition and non-academic recognition. So for academic recognition, this would be something like I'm on the dean's list for this year. So for the time frame, after high school, because you could indicate activities from high school. There was no scholarship associated with it, but I received this October of 2021 in San Marcos, Texas. I made the dean's list. You notice down here that as I'm entering characters here, it counts characters. So even a space here will count against that character count. So make sure that you're aware that you only have 300 characters to talk about this different activity. Once it's done, you add the award and it goes and shows up here. Similarly, for non-academic recognition, you have the ability to identify maybe a non-academic award, cheerleader of the week, or if you are the awarded something outside of school, this would be something that you would recognize here. And then finally is leadership section. These are this group of activities kind of something that are kind of separate from the rest of the activities. But here in leadership, you could enter any formal roles that you've undertaken. If you're president of an organization, you select the time frame. This was in high school, and I was president of HOSA at my high school, and here's what we accomplished. In this section, you actually have 500 characters to discuss. And what I want to share with you all is the schools aren't always looking for formal leadership roles. You could also include different qualities that you may have undertaken. So maybe you didn't have a specific activity where you were president, but maybe you led a task force or were part of a group that helped update some of the policies or helped put on an event or helped undertake different aspects of the organization. So don't limit yourself to just formal roles of leadership. You could also include different qualities or informal roles that you've undertaken. We have a question from Faith. If a student is in a club and also later holds a leadership position, is it listed in both the leadership and extracurricular section for the descriptions? Yes, that's a great question, Faith. So we do encourage you to not, if you're part of a club for 4 years in high school, you don't want to enter the same activity 4 times. Just enter the one activity, put the time span that you undertook it. And then also make sure that each activity is only in one section. So for example, if you're part of HOSA, you might include that under extracurricular activity. And you can type in, I'm part of HOSA. Or if you're part of National Honor Society, you might include that under academic recognition. But if you did anything that was leadership, in addition to any one of those roles, you could actually enter, for example, HOSA under extracurricular and then president of HOSA as a leadership activity. Or if you are captain of the volleyball team, you might include volleyball under extracurricular, and then you might include captain of volleyball team under leadership. Now, the difference here is I want to challenge you to not just copy and paste the same description to both. For example, in volleyball, you might talk about physical conditioning and maintaining wellness, and then as captain of the volleyball team, it could be something about promoting the culture of the team and making sure that everybody was included. And that goes back to those core competencies that we talked about earlier. Treating others the way that they want to be treated, cultural competencies, and really being dependable and reliable and having an ethical responsibility to yourself and others could all be shown in this type of activity. So this is why we went over those core competencies at the beginning of the session. So great question, Faith. The next group of activities is going to be your employment. Here you have the opportunity to enter work that you've undertaken. If the work is like a work study position, you could indicate that here. Or if it's a position like a research position that's only offered to students, you could indicate that there. When did you hold this job? And we have several options. Was it prior to college, freshman, the summer between freshman and sophomore, etc. The average amount of hours worked per week, the average, the city, the state, and then the description of the work that you performed. Under research activities, this one's a little bit different, but along the same lines where you enter the name of the research activity, the time frame, approximate hours per week, and the total cumulative hours rather. You also have up to 500 characters to discuss what you've learned in that environment and maybe a little bit about what the research was. If that research resulted in any publication, poster, or presentation, you actually have an additional 500 characters here to be able to maybe share a citation or a link to that work. And this gives the schools an additional opportunity, or it gives the JAMP Council an additional opportunity to learn more about the work that you performed in research. For healthcare activities, this could include anything that you undertook as part of community service, volunteer, employment, or shadowing experiences. As freshmen and sophomores right now, you probably don't have too many of these experiences. But for example, since we just came out of, we just encountered the COVID surges, you might include, getting neighbors signed up to get vaccinations. That might be something that you might include on here. Or shadowing a physician in my neighborhood, or even shadowing a dentist or shadowing a veterinarian, somebody in the healthcare professions, just understanding what that looks like. All right. Faith has a follow-up question. Here's another great one. If an activity is throughout high school and college, how would the time frame be selected? That's a great question. I would select the section that has the most, I would select where you undertook it the most. So if it was high school, here, for example, I would put high school, but then I might put that it started, let's see, high school typically starts in August, let's say 2016 through, and then we would put the application deadline of October 2023. Oh, I have to name it and all that. But yeah, I might do something like that. Just know that if it does continue beyond October of this year, it won't let you put a date longer than that. But you can include in the description that it's something that you're going to continue to be engaged in. And that's a special note from Jennifer. So any activity that you enter can go up to October 2023, but nothing beyond then, because that's the application deadline. So what we'll do is if the activity continues, you can enter it in the description. Just a quick note, this activity will continue throughout my undergraduate career or something along those lines. So great question, Faith. All right, which one were we on? Healthcare activities. Onward to community service and community engagement. Again, you list that on here. Very similar structure. You get 500 characters. Extracurricular activities or significant leisure. So this could be like intramural sports that you may be involved in, or if you are a Twitch streamer and you enjoy doing that and you're doing Twitch streams of surgery or other type of virtual reality type gaming, you could include that on here. And it's just to give the schools a little bit of insight into who you are outside of academics. Once you enter all those other activities, you have the opportunity to select your most meaningful experiences. You have 3 on here. And this is a great opportunity for you to not just speak more about the different activities, but also talk about how those activities have helped shape you. So you do have additional 500 characters here to talk about these activities. Make sure that these activities are previously mentioned in one of the other ones: academic recognition, leadership, employment, research, healthcare, community service and engagement, and extracurricular. Make sure they're included on there, and that way this gives you an opportunity to just focus in on that activity. So for example, if I shadowed a physician, I might include that in healthcare activities, but then here I could say, in shadowing this physician, it really made me understand what the profession looks like, and I identified some areas that I could improve in myself so that I could be a more efficient healthcare provider, and those areas are 1, 2, and 3. And kind of talk about what you're going to do to continue your improvement. So that's a really important section. A lot of folks kind of take it for granted, but this is a special opportunity for you to essentially grab the attention of the evaluators or your the folks at the JAMP Council and say, hey, these are the ones that I really want you to focus on because they're very important to me, and here's why. So take advantage of these opportunities to highlight those activities. Next up, we have the essays for JAMP. We have a personal statement, a personal characteristics essay, and then the optional essay. The personal statement is asking what aspirations, experiences, or relationships have motivated you to pursue the study of medicine, and JAMP. Explain why or how. So as you're writing this, I really want you to kind of think about a strategy called the STAR method. It's situation, task, activity, situation, task, action, and results. So for example, situation might be a physician didn't care. Oh, I should learn how to spell. Didn't care for a grandfather, as well as I'd hoped. So that's like the moment of inspiration is like, what happened here? So here you might say, needed Spanish skills and more and better bedside manner. So here in task, I would say from that experience, I need better medical Spanish skills and develop comfort with working with people from different backgrounds. So your action here is going to be take medical Spanish and understand cultural differences in healthcare. And so that could be achieved both through the formal academic aspect of taking medical Spanish courses or taking minoring in Spanish, for example, but also understanding cultural differences could be additional research that you undertake. It could be engaging in your local community with different populations other than the background that you're from to better understand how different communities engage with healthcare professionals. And so your results here are to be a more effective practitioner in situations like I encountered. And so what does that look like? And so again, situation is what happened, your moment of inspiration, whether it's positive or negative. Talk briefly about that. The tasks that you identified from that situation, and saying, here are some tools that this physician might have been able to do, some things they could have done better. The action that you are taking from that situation, and this is probably going to be the biggest part that I really challenge you to develop and really reflect on. And then the results, what you've already undertaken and what is on your pathway to become a more effective healthcare practitioner. And also, as we look back here, related to JAMP. So now within this context, let's say the task that, oh, I'm sorry, the action that you need to undertake is, as part of JAMP, work to engage with colleagues from different backgrounds. We saw in the video earlier that JAMP is a program that has a lot of different backgrounds, different personalities, different characteristics of folks, and it's a really rich place to learn and undertake some of these better understandings of cultural and socioeconomic diversity. And then your results, you could say being part of JAMP allows me to ... whatever it is that JAMP, in your research about the program, the types of doors that JAMP is going to open. For example, the scholarship allows me to not have to work, and because I'm not having to work, I'm able to commit 20 additional hours to research, or I'm able to engage in this additional activity. So as you're creating this essay, I really challenge you to think about how number one, the prompt of the essay, and then number two, thinking about the situation, task, action, and results. The next essay here is the personal characteristics essay, which is asking for kind of learning and understanding your own background. So here, learning from others is enhanced in educational settings that include individuals from diverse backgrounds and experiences. Please describe your personal characteristics, background, talent, skills, etc., or experiences that would add to the educational experiences of others. So as I disclosed earlier, I grew up in El Paso, and I can share with you in my life experiences that I tend to come at different situations, different questions from a different perspective because of the place that I grew up in, because of the culture I grew up in, because of the languages I speak. These all shape my understanding of the world around me, and they're really important to me in how I engage with the work that I perform. So think about you and the community that you're part of, or the different communities that you're a part of when we're thinking about intersectionality, and how those have come to shape you, and how they might continue to shape you, and how they could benefit other people that you might be engaged with as part of JAMP. We saw earlier our JAMP summer programs send you to the medical schools to actually live the life of a medical school student. So as you're in that program, what are you doing, or what is it that you're providing that might be different from others? So this isn't necessarily like a diversity essay as a lot of folks may think about it, but rather, what is it that you're bringing to the table? How has your upbringing shaped who you are? And how important is that in understanding how to become a more effective healthcare practitioner? And then finally, here in the optional essay, again, you shouldn't take this as optional. This is just essentially your last opportunity to get the attention of the JAMP Council and those folks reviewing your application, saying, hey, there's this thing that I didn't talk about in my application in another part, and I want you to know about it. So, for example, if you didn't have a great dual credit GPA, for example, but you want to show that you've grown and you've matured and you've understood and had a great transition from high school to college, that's not necessarily something that shows up elsewhere on the application. So you might discuss that here. I had a rough dual credit experience, but from that I learned that I needed to enhance my study skills. And you can see in my progression of my GPA that my transition into college coursework was actually very smooth, and I plan to continue to build on these skill sets. So this gives you an opportunity to really talk to the admissions committee, talk to the JAMP council about what you've undertaken. All right, checking to see if we have any questions before we jump into the next section here. All right, we are good to go. So that completes the employment and activity section. And next up, we have our proof of residency. So in this section, you actually provide additional information for uh, our uh, uh, our residency committee to assess whether you are a U.S. citizen and permanent resident, since those are requirements of the program. So using my own experience again, I am a U.S. citizen and I am a Texas resident. One of the options here is I did graduate from high school in Texas. There, it popped up from the high school section. Did I live in Texas for 36 months prior to graduation? Yes, I did. Will I have lived in Texas continually for 12 months? Yes, I have. And if there's anything else to provide, you can enter that here. So this is the first option for you to be a Texas resident is to graduate from high school for 36 months and have resided in Texas for 12 months before November 1st. Other options may require different pathways. So, for example, if your parents moved to Texas and you didn't graduate from high school in Texas, did you attend a public university? Yes, and you can indicate which university you've attended. So here I would say Texas State. And then the terms that I've attended, or the last term where I was enrolled, and I was a Texas resident, but I did not pay in-state tuition because of a waiver. It's because I'm a Texas resident. And then if my parents can claim me, I'm sorry, there we go. My parents can claim me on their taxes here and here. We can add that. Is my parents a legal guardian? A U.S. citizen? Yes. Do they live in Texas? Yes. How long will they have lived in Texas? More than 12 months. The reason for being in Texas is to establish a home. Am I a member of the military? No. So it kind of continues to give questions that are dynamic based off of when your family may have moved to Texas. So let's say, for example, this family moved here in 2020. And here's additional information that you can provide. So these questions are dynamic based off of the rules that are established by the Texas Health Education, the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. And so based off of those, you have kind of this wizard that kind of goes through different situations, and it allows us to determine whether you are a Texas resident. If you are a permanent resident, for example, this would give you the option to upload your permanent resident card information. Let me go back to that section just to show you what that looks like. Are you a U.S. resident? No. U.S. citizen? No. Rather, let's say I were from Mexico, but my current visa is permanent resident. So I can enter my permanent resident card here. The information for that, my state of residency is Texas. And then that would actually populate a placeholder where I can upload the copy of my permanent resident card. So that completes that section of the application for your residency. And onward to uploading a photo. The photo allows us, especially in virtual interview situations, to verify that the person that's interviewing is the person that's attached to the application. Your photo has to be under 100 kilobytes and must be a JPEG, GIF, PNG, or BMP. If you don't have a photo available, I mean, you can use your camera and just downscale it using any of the myriad of tools available to you on the internet. You can go ahead and upload it and just make sure that none of the special characters are present in the file name. And from there, we go on to identify our evaluators. So one of your evaluators, we actually have a couple of different options that are opening up. We'll have more information for you in the coming weeks. But for your evaluators, you can either have a JAMP faculty director and a university faculty, or a university faculty and somebody else who can speak to the core competencies that we mentioned earlier. So that might include a coach, or might include somebody from your early college experience who can speak to your academic preparedness for becoming a physician down the line and how you're doing so far. So again, we'll have some additional information on here to share with you all. But what you do in this section is you enter the name of your evaluator. So Dr. Stephen Strange here is my JFD, and we'll have some additional options that will come up in the next few weeks for those of you that are interested in submitting different evaluations. You go ahead and hit save the letter request, and here Professor Aurora Monroe is going to be my college faculty who's going to submit a letter. Save that, and I can actually click here and download this form. So this is actually your evaluation form that we need from those two evaluators. You enter the name, the university. If you would like to retain access to this letter to view it after, or if you'd like to waive it, your JFD name, institution, address, city, state, zip, who the evaluator is, the JFD or faculty, or other options that we'll provide more guidance on later. The evaluation person that's completing it, their contact information, familiarity with who you are, how well known you are to them. We also have a few sections here on rating the applicant, and then additional comments that they can provide, signature and date, and send it back into the JAMP office. So it's that simple. So you'll have to provide this to your evaluators. All right. So that completes a supporting document section. For that, again, Jennifer mentioned earlier, you'll have to be working with your JFD to help upload some additional documents. If you're not entirely sure what those look like or what the process is like, make sure you meet with your JFD to understand the documents that are required, their role in collecting or providing the documents to the JAMP office. This differs from school to school, so we can't really speak to a general sense of how this is performed across the board. Once you complete the letter section, you can go ahead and move forward to certification. This brings us back to our application status that I mentioned earlier. We did complete a few sections, but not all of them. So on your end, as you're completing the application, all of these should be checked. And then it'll actually send you into certification statements and the application submission. Since I haven't completed these sections, it won't let me move forward. But I did want to point out there is no application fee for JAMP. And so you're able to submit your application without that. And with that in mind, Jennifer, we do have a couple of extra notes for applicants out there who may be looking at applying, correct?
Yes, just to let you know a couple of things as far as the letters go, you do not have to wait to get, you can go ahead, please fill out the placeholders ahead of time. Don't wait. Some people think you have to wait for the letters to come, for us to receive the letters before you can go ahead and fill that section out, but that's not true. You can go ahead and fill the section out and go ahead and save that, and then send the evaluation form to whoever's going to do it for you, and they can send that back to us. I just wanted to point that out.
Yes, thank you. All right. So again, the documents that we'll be requiring, and you'll have to coordinate with your JAMP faculty director, is your FAFSA student aid report. You have to send us all of the pages of your student aid report for both your freshman and sophomore year. And as Jennifer mentioned earlier, if you with the updates coming to FAFSA in this year, you might not have access to previous cycles of FAFSA, but what we'll be looking for is for this one cycle to be within the 8,000 EFC or student aid index. Also, we'll be looking for your transcripts. Your JAMP faculty director will help get those to us. And your letters of evaluation, again, will be through your JAMP faculty director. So they're going to be a very important part in your journey to applying to JAMP. So make sure that you go and meet with them to make sure that they're aware and you're aware of the different processes and maybe deadlines that they might have. Well, it looks like we are caught up on questions and we've done the application walkthrough here. So we're going to go ahead and end this this session. But thank you all so much for watching. On behalf of our member institutions within the JAMP Council, the Texas Health Education Service, and the Joint Admission Medical Program, we want to wish all of you all the best of luck in your application to JAMP and look forward to seeing your application. Again, the deadline this cycle is October 31st. So thank you all so much, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.